There's a big update in the Laken Snelling case.
Laken. Laken.
Laken. Laken.
And it's not quite what you think. The University of Kentucky student who was arrested and charged because she gave birth after concealing her pregnancy and put her brand new infant baby boy wrapped in a towel inside of a trash bag in her closet, to which her roommates grew very suspicious of and found, calling the authorities, has now officially dropped out from the University of Kentucky, and she was a senior. She also has disenrolled from the University of Kentucky stunt team, where she has spent the last 3 years. But that's not the only update. Her ex-boyfriend, Isaiah, has been cooperating with authorities and just gave them a DNA test so they can find out if he is the biological father to Laken Snelling's deceased infant baby boy. And as you know, Laken Snelling's boyfriend, most current boyfriend, it is untold if they are still together or not, is named Connor. Now, we see hundreds of these cases. Just several of them made mainstream media or even international media, such as Alexee Trevizo, which after 2.5 years is still awaiting trial, and the New Mexico Supreme Court is still waiting to make their ruling based on certain evidence or eyewitnesses or testimony that's going to be allowed or not allowed. We had the Ohio case years back with Brooke Skylar Richardson. We have a brand new case out of Columbus, Georgia, and that is Zinnia Hernandez. And then we have this case of Laken Snelling. Although this is not new, this has been a problem for decades. Although I will say that there is a correlation between a lot of these newer, very famous cases that are taking over the media. We are seeing these women 18, like Brooke Skylar Richardson. Alexee Trevizo was just shy of her 20th birthday. Zinnia Hernandez, she's 22. Laken Snelling, 21. A lot of the cases that we had seen previous in the last 4 decades have largely been much younger than that, still legally a minor child. These are full-grown adult women. And out of all of the videos that I've done showing all of the statistics, out of all of the people that conceal their pregnancy, over 1/3 of them end up giving birth in secret, in private, and taking the life of their child. And those statistics are based off of reported cases, not the ones that have not been reported or not been found out. So the statistics can only be as accurate as the cases that we factually know about. But I will say something that I think is really weird. They were all in university. They were all cheerleaders, except for Zinnia Hernandez. They all had baby boys, except for one. And out of only one of those cases, all of the women were with a current boyfriend, but were pregnant by a previous, now ex-boyfriend. So I think that there is a huge correlation of different combinations, different factors here that may make a young pregnant woman more susceptible to concealing, more susceptible to going into labor and giving birth, hiding it, concealing it. But of course, that also doesn't give the baby the best opportunity and chance at survival. And this is very hard for medical examiners to determine, because a baby at the time of birth is going from being in a placenta with amniotic fluid to breathing air. And that is why throughout all of human ancient history, all the way up to today, we use midwives, which used to be just very experienced grandmas and mothers who know what to do in the event of a baby coming into the world, how to hold their neck back open and straighten out their airway, clean out their airway, to promote them to cry, to help them strengthen their lungs and clean out their lungs, and how to give them the best chance at survival. Putting a baby inside of a trash bag is not a good way for it to survive because you're obstructing their airway and their ability to breathe oxygen. And concealing a birth, concealing labor, concealing a pregnancy, those are very intentional acts. And there's no need for that because even in the state of Georgia, Ohio, even with Laken Snelling in Kentucky, even though that is one of the very few states that restricts abortion, as far as legislation goes, they do not restrict Plan B. And that's why I have always said that this comes down to education, awareness, and access. Just ignoring it doesn't make a whole baby go away. Putting it in a towel, in a blanket, inside of a trash, covering up with more trash, putting it in a black garbage bag, shoving it under something, shoving it under another bag of garbage in a trash can, putting it in a dumpster, that's not going to make it go away. And we have seen a few cases like Zinnia Hernandez, the most recent case. Luckily, thank goodness, the baby has survived because somebody would love that baby, despite the mothers not. But I think it's really time for families, for friends, coworkers, your students at any school, middle school, high school, or university. It's time for bosses, coworkers, be more attentive. Be more attentive. This whole woke leftist idea of don't comment on women's bodies. Well, if you have a classmate at your university on your stunt team that is very clearly, had a whole entire 6-pack of abs, then goes to having a full baby belly and baby face. Yeah. I would suggest that's probably, the time when you should bring it to your friend's attention or to a coach or to a teacher or somebody's attention and say, hey, I think that there's something going on here. If you don't have the ability to confront somebody directly, but nobody should be taking the life of a baby because in all 50 states, you can safely surrender a baby under the safe haven law in all 50 states. Not only are there safe haven boxes, which I have showed time and time again, but you can safely surrender or have somebody else anonymously surrender safely to a hospital, any nurse, doctor, any fire station, or police department, any baby. So the whole argument over did the baby actually breathe air? That's exactly what Brooke Skylar Richardson, that's what Alexee Trevizo's case is being hung up. Her entire trial is being hung up on that, with the New Mexico Supreme Court being involved. That's the entire argument, I bet you, with the Laken Snelling case in Kentucky and the newest one, Zinnia Hernandez in Georgia. I'm telling you, any public defender or private attorney is going to argue that the baby didn't live, it was born, stillborn. It's the actions, words, choices, and behaviors surrounding up into the birth. And an average of 365-day year, over 270 of those is 9 months of pregnancy. Over 270 days that they had to take something, to do something, to, tell somebody, a family member, a friend. And what kind of family friends are that oblivious that they're just like, oh, yeah, you're clearly 9 months pregnant. We're just gonna, and then act like we don't see that. And then all of a sudden she's just acting normal and going to class. Yeah, the roommates were suspicious, but it was a little too late to do anything to save the baby's life, to get any kind of medical professional involved to make sure the baby doesn't pass away. But the baby never lived, or it wasn't crying, like what Alexee Trevizo said, is going to be their only defense. But it's the malicious intent of concealing it, lying about it, hiding it, covering it up, that tells you the act of they didn't want the baby and they were doing everything they could to make sure nobody else knew about it. It's their actions that took the life or tried to take the life of their own newborn infant. And with Laken Snelling, she was in Kentucky. She wasn't an hour and 15 to 20-minute drive away from Cincinnati, Ohio, where I lived for over 3 years. She could have went to the Women's Care Center or Planned Parenthood. and chosen to do that if that's what she wanted to do. My whole point is they didn't have to take the life of the baby. They chose that. Their actions maliciously chose that.